All right, let's get started with today's PowerPoint presentation. Wonderful presentation. We are running a little technical difficulties. Steve is just joining us right now. There he is. He's mobile today. That's just how good we are. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Richard Malik. You are joining us for Behind the Build, our quarterly product webinar, where we're going to pull back the curtain and showcase the best, the greatest, the biggest releases that we've done over the last 3 months, as well as give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what is coming. Here at Synqly, we are big on celebrating our development and how we are continuously pushing the integration conversation inside security, IT, and artificial intelligence. But with that, I'm going to go over some housekeeping. First off, this webinar is being recorded and is going to be available for replay almost immediately on YouTube as well as LinkedIn right after the show ends. So if for some unfortunate reason you must leave us, you've got to go do some real work, you don't want to hang out with us much longer, don't worry, you can catch up with the rest of it later on. And it will be on YouTube as well as LinkedIn, our pages there. If you have any questions throughout the whole conversation, whether it be technical about a product, something that Steve says, you want to call us out, hey, that's wrong, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. If it is relevant for the slide, the conversation that we're having at that time, I'll interrupt Steve or interrupt myself and we'll answer it. If not, we have a question slide at the end and we'll go through it. And finally, for those of you that are new to us, you're going to be receiving an email saying thank you for coming. I'll also send an email to those LinkedIn and YouTube presentations tomorrow to everybody so that you can view it. Now, if Steve or I talk about something that is relevant, maybe something in the news, a link to our release notes, something, those links will also be provided in that follow-up email. So don't worry, you're not going to walk away uninformed or having to Google anything. Or I guess nobody's using Google anymore. We're using ChatGPT for it all. But with that, let's introduce, me. I'm Richard Malik. I'm the head of marketing here at Synqly. But let's be honest, you're all here to talk to Steve and listen to Steve. Steve, please introduce yourself to the wonderful people.
Hey folks, Steve Erickson, co-founder here at Synqly, and I run product in engineering.
Yeah, he's crucial and to the development. Don't let him undersell his opportunity and his work here. He drives the team really, really hard, but they do good work for him. So now let's get started on who we are. For those of you that are brand new to Synqly, hey, who is this company? What do we do? We are a cybersecurity and IT ops integration platform. We focus specifically on the space of cybersecurity and IT operations, as well as now artificial intelligence for both those sectors. We're providing a unified API that with bidirectional capabilities that allows you, the vendor or product developer, to connect once to us and then have access to many. Now, what does that mean? I'll get into that in the architecture slide in the next second. We are using generative as well as agentic AI in our development side. So as we continue to push out new updates as well as checking, hey, if somebody's API failed or broken, we are using all the tools available today. So we are expediting the fixing and developing, as well as minimizing downtime for our customers. And we are the largest security ecosystem of any integration platform on the market today. Our customers are reporting over 90% cost savings in both time and money when they use us to handle that full infrastructure between the product and the platform of any integrations that are coming. What does that look like on a architecture side? This beautiful graphic right here, this little hamburger graphic that you have these providers down here at the bottom, these logos that are sitting down there. That's just a small group of the logos of the companies that we are integrated into. We have built those integrations so you don't have to. Now, some of these tools, small companies like Qualys, CrowdStrike, Tanium, Okta, all those groups, they might fit into multiple categories. Those are those blue boxes in that middle section. Events, ticketing, vulnerability, identity, EDR, asset. We have a bunch more as well. AppSec, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and a few others. They're categorized tools or products that they are serving up. We will build those integrations into, and then you, customer, build an integration into us, into one of those individual connectors. So you would build an integration into events, and then you'd have access to all of the products and services that we have integrated into the events category. So connect once and connect to many. You are not having to maintain those APIs. You're not having to worry about that connection with that company, because we're going to be delivering that uptime report. You have all the data served up to you through our product, but we're also the ones doing the maintenance side. So it's reducing that overhead of both the development and the maintenance off of your engineering team's plate, so that you can focus on what matters: product development. Oh goodness, we have two Steves now. I felt so lucky for a quick second there. There's a whole other slew to that, but if you want to learn more about our platform, that's going to be another conversation. You can go ahead and schedule a time with us directly, or reach out to us via chat, and I'll send you a link. Now, when I say that we do maintain the largest ecosystem, it is the largest ecosystem of cybersecurity and IT ops vendors on the market today, and it's continuing to grow every single week. I think we're averaging 1 to 2 per week, if I'm looking at the data correctly. Pardon me. But we're not just developing out new connectors into these vendors. We're also developing out new tools every single day and advancing our tools internally to help you make your life a lot easier when it comes to those integrations. And the first one that I'm going to introduce, and then Steve's going to take it away on the technical side, is Synqly MCP. Now, what is MCP? MCP is a model context protocol. It's yet another layer in the artificial intelligence game. If you're very interested in how we are doing Synqly MCP, I will include a link to our recording from our last webinar when we talked about Synqly MCP in depth. But we're the first model context protocol to the market, specifically built to support integration development for the ever-expanding cybersecurity ecosystem. So cybersecurity vendors, IT ops teams, and MSSPs can benefit from a faster time to market, stronger integrations, and more accurate data mapping with access to that largest ecosystem out there. There's a great video on our MCP page on Synqly.com that showcases a 5-minute build of integrations, where with a couple keystroke commands, the customer was able to integrate into multiple products within 5 minutes. But with that, that's the high level marketing fluff. I'm going to pass it over to Steve to dive into a little bit more into why Synqly MCP matters to you.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Sorry for the technical difficulties early on. I think I've got them sorted out, and with you guys fully here now. So Synqly MCP was released. We released that as a GA product. It's not vaporware, right? We have customers who've integrated their agentic AI agents into our MCP. And our MCP runs on completely separate infrastructure that's doesn't have any special access to to our product or environment, to eliminate any security concerns there. But Synqly MCP has a full access to our capabilities that are in our API, essentially providing the ability for your agentic agents to be able to do things like query capabilities of our platform, create integrations, respond, create almost like workflow type operations in a natural language format. Incredibly powerful, incredibly interesting. I suggest everybody take a look at it, and take a look at the last webinar that our chief architect Andy Curtis did on this. It opens up a lot for us as far as how people use Synqly, how people interact with Synqly. It's highly recommended that you take a look at it, and I'll leave it at that. Another one that we're really happy about. So Synqly has been on a journey of extensibility this year. I describe extensibility as one of the sort of big rocks of things we're working on. And the goal is for us to be able to open up our platform so that customers can build their own integrations, add their own vendors to our platform, and adaptive data mapping is on that path, right? So Synqly does a couple things at a super high level. If you go up to the highest level, Synqly does API mapping and transformations from our external API service to the vendor APIs we're integrating with. And then we also do the bidirectional data normalization as well. And adaptive data mapping is essentially the the ability to enable our customers to fully define and augment or modify that data mapping layer. And that will be used as a building block for building custom providers later this year. But for right now, the adaptive data mapping allows you to sort of customize those data mapping rules. You could also, if there's things that we're not mapping, you could easily expand our schema to be able to map some of that additional data, and also to customize those data mappings, for integrations just to meet your use case.
Right.
The other thing that is really a powerful aspect of this is, as most of you probably know, our data model is based on OCSF. And up until this point, we expected our customers to be able to sort of translate any data that they want to send to us into OCSF. This also provides the ability for customers to be able to use their own data model internally and then define the transformations to OCSF, and then we do all those transformations on our side, sort of reducing the effort and reducing the complexity of having to integrate with Synqly.
I want to emphasize one thing here, that this adaptive data mapping is a bidirectional capability as well. So it isn't just, unidirectional where it's how you are intaking data from one of the provider. It is something how you're sending data back as well. So we are acting as that translation service on going both ways, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's full mesh, data mapping system. You could define the rules, for one direction or both directions. It's fully customizable and a very, very powerful feature.
And a lot of people haven't talked about One Direction in a couple of years, but that's a bad joke. If you are interested in adaptive data mapping, next month we're going to have a full webinar on it, as well as the demo showcased by the engineer who actually led the development of the feature. So look out for the invitation for that coming probably next week. Now I'll change the next slide. There we go.
So as always, Synqly is building new providers, as Richard said. We're constantly taking feedback from our customers and in adding capabilities to the platform. We do that for all our customers. Synqly isn't a static environment. We expect our customers to tell us what additional products they need integrated with different use cases, and then we're building the company to be responsive to those type of use cases. These are the new providers that we've added in since we've done this webinar about a quarter ago. A couple SIM products. We've OpenSearch is essentially a sort of a branch off of Elastic at some point, and it's an open source product that we fully integrated as a SIM product, including all full mesh data mapping, that capabilities for event data to and from the OpenSearch. We're on a journey around building out cloud security. So I think the webinar last time we mentioned that we're built out an initial connector with CrowdStrike. We've expanded that to Defender as well. We're working on AWS, Palo Alto, Tenable.io. So there's a bunch of those that are coming down the pipe. And not only are we adding new providers, we're also expanding the capabilities of that connector. Right now it includes findings, it includes being able to query asset data. We'll expand that to we've expanded that to misconfigurations, audit log events. We'll be adding as well. So,
Yep. So one thing I wanted to add to that real quick. Some of you that joined us last quarter for our first behind the build, the logos might look familiar, and that's because a lot of these companies have multiple products and services out there, and they all require different kind of builds and integrations. So sometimes you might see the same logo appear a few times. It just means that we're continuously expanding our connectors and our providers into specific categories. So I just want to make sure you all know. And now, Steve, real quick question because I we got asked this last time. I think it's a good note. If one of our customers wants to add a provider, what's the best way for them to put that request in for us?
I mean, all of our customers and prospects have a Slack channel with us that we interact with in real time, and generally we get feedback through that channel. If you wanted to leave a comment with Richard, happy to explore whatever vendor that you that 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 you'd like us to look into. But generally, all of our customers and prospects we interact with live in real time, and just as a normal process, that's how we normally get that feedback.
Excellent.
Can you
Speaking,
back just a couple
oh
other
yeah,
just a couple of highlights, a couple ticketing connectors, Freshdesk and Jira Service Management. Just again, responding to customer requests. There's a broad range of ticketing platforms that are out there. I would guess probably hundreds of ticketing platforms, and it's pretty easy for us to add new ones as we go along, and those are the ones that we've heard recently based on customer feedback. Google SecOps, they've been going through a journey in moving from sort of their legacy Chronicle product into SecOps, and they've built out some new APIs that are sort of moving forward while they still support the old APIs. So this Google SecOps provider is essentially a V2 provider. We still have the V1 provider available that is using those more forward-looking APIs that Google's building out. And then a couple other asset providers, are the interest in our asset connector and the ability to pull asset data from a wide variety of sources using that unified API is really heating up, and we're aggressively adding new asset providers to that category, and Exonius and Sevco were sort of the top of that list of ones that we're working on. The last one I'll mention is ServiceNow vulnerability management. A lot of demand for that one. We have ServiceNow available in ticketing and asset, and they have a strong offering in vulnerability management, including the ability to not only query findings but also push bulk findings to that platform, which is some of interest to a number of our customers. Thanks, Richard. That's all.
of course. Speaking of new categories, I'm excited about this one, I think the most.
Yeah, I know this one is we're all really excited about this. There's been a lot of interest in application security, and this is our first foray into building an AppSec connector that can look for both static and dynamic issues that are findings in these AppScan products, and this is just the beginning, right? We have a list of AppSec products that we'll be building out, and aggressively addressing as many of these as possible and more based on your feedback. So this is exciting for us, and this is available now and in production.
And I think the big thing with that is if you are familiar with using AppSec tools. Now, speaking from experience on this side, if you're familiar with using it, you know that the application security ecosystem is typically very siloed and feeds into the development team and a little bit over into IT for SOC compliances and others. Security teams need that visibility now, especially since software supply chain attacks are becoming so prevalent and useful by threat actors to get into ecosystems. And so that visibility that these tools provide to the security team is going to be crucial for both breach management if and when something happens, as well as mitigation. Hey, we know there's vulnerabilities, like we can search for these vulnerabilities based off the data that's coming in. But I'm extremely excited because this is helping to bring these two critical systems, security and AppSec, together in a more unified manner.
And I think it's also a good example of how we're super responsive to customers, right? So we're able to pull this AppSec together pretty quickly based on some emerging customer demand, get out a couple initial providers, and then we have a number, as you can see here, sort of queued up to be able to deliver in the short term. So.
Yeah, Koala, Sneak, GitLab, Sonar Cube, small players in this space, but I know that they're gonna love the being part of our ecosystem as well.
So we're also on a journey for what we call Synqly Labs, and this is a long journey for us. This isn't going to be done, overnight, but it's super important. And what it is we're enabling our customers to be able to do end-to-end testing without having to access the provider software, essentially the vendor software to integrate with. And every single customer who comes through the door has the problem of how do we test these integrations, how do we validate these integrations without getting like hundreds of different products in our own lab so that we could do testing. And this is a two-phased approach. We're starting out with adding mock providers, which are essentially have the same capabilities as the real vendor software, has some sanitized mock data in it that you could use to query. And we continue to expand out both the number of providers that we're supporting for as mocks, as well as the capabilities. As you can see, we also added the ability to do sort of the advanced querying support, which we have in our regular providers this quarter as well, and expect to see several mock providers added every couple of weeks moving forward through the end of the year.
Yeah, and I don't want to steal my thunder when it comes to this, but we've got some big news about this coming up in a short bit. So watch your emails for a non-GDPR compliance announcement email that will come about a month from now.
So SIM is also a place that we're investing a lot in, and where we're going with SIM and what we've implemented across the board is essentially that going back to the data mapping we talked about, is we have a full mesh bidirectional engine within SIM to be able to translate to and from the various schemas that are required by all those vendors that we support. So for SIM, the SIMs are most effective if you send data that in a schema that they're expecting, then they could use all of their security tools, all the business logic that they have to look for security threats, since they understand how to parse that data. So we're building out all of the data mapping, the built-in data mapping for all the vendors that we support, so that we could make sure that the integrations that you have through us with SIM are sort of the top level as far as capabilities are concerned. And we've added a bunch of data mapping this past quarter to enable additional products to take advantage of that capability for our customers, and as well as adding we've been working with CrowdStrike to get full support for their next gen SIM product, and we had basic support earlier on, and we also added that ability to both post events as well as querying events, and do all the data mapping associated with it. I'm really excited about this. It's been a lot of work for us to, as you can imagine, to be able to map data bidirectionally in a very dynamic way, but we're close to the finish line on this one.
And what I love about this is, as the SIM continues to get pushed on more in the market, we're bringing a little bit more value to that product and giving it a little bit more sticky opportunities within customer ecosystems, to allow them to take full advantage of SIM's actual capabilities as an interconnected service to their organization.
We've had ticketing is typically like the one of the first integrations that a lot of our customers support, and we're continuing to make refinements to ticketing to be able to, in response to the customer feedback, as well as improving the overall experience of using the APIs. And a lot of this is is related to that type of feedback, but specifically we've done a bunch of work on Jira to sort of clean up the ticketing integration based on customer feedback, as well as providing a few extra features like the webhook support and the signed webhooks to make sure that we're using the highest level of security that's required, as well as some additional capabilities in some of the other products. These ticketing platforms are very extensible, very dynamic. There's a lot of capabilities that need to be built out on our side to fully support them, but we're doing a great job keeping up with that and improving that over time, just because of the fact that we've had so many POCs that go through it and so much feedback from our customers. The one down the end is interesting. We've added the ability in PagerDuty to be able to query for escalation policies, see who's on call. Think about the use case if a customer wants to be able to identify who's on call for live within their application. They could do that with that feature.
Excellent.
Mentioned cloud security earlier, and it's probably turning into one of the most popular connectors now. A lot of folks are focused on cloud security, being able to pull, compliance information from cloud assets and across a number of products. And we have the ability to query findings now, query assets. We built out the being able to query misconfigurations. We're starting to build out the query audit log events and have a couple providers there that support that, and we'll continue on. This is high priority for us. We're going to focus on building out all the capabilities that customers need, as well as continuing to add new products like AWS Security Hub, Palo Alto, and Google Cloud. There's a whole list of, as you well know, cloud security vendors out there.
Feels like it's an endless list when you get into the cloud security list of everyone that was at Black Hat and RSA. It's just, so it's as big as the cloud, if you will. Oh God, that was a bad dad joke.
And we've talked about a bunch of things in this deck, but there's been hundreds of changes that we've pushed out in the last couple months in this product. If you're interested in following along, we do have the weekly release notes in our docs in docs.synqly.com, which is public, and you could go check it out, and you could keep track of all the sort of some of the nuanced adjustments that we've made. Lots of data mapping improvements, additional data mapping, adding some small features here and there to be able to access new data, new endpoints, not things that we mention in this call, but a couple of those that rose to the top is, we've added the ability to query events to the EDR connector, so you could essentially query the event streams that are associated with all those products to be able to identify patterns of things that you want to search for. Pretty powerful feature. And the second one is, we're continuing to add, like expanded data mapping, so this is, as you can imagine, some of these large cloud providers, the amount of data that you could query is very large. And this is a continuous effort to expand the types of data that we're mapping. But, we do this for customers to be able, as customers need more data, we'll go in and add the ability to query those items as well. And overall, this is a little bit of an esoteric thing, but we're continuing to try to make the lives easier for our customers. And one of those things is trying to help with dealing, all these products have rate limits as far as API requests, and we're adding the ability across the board for us to handle those things better, isolate those issues from our customer. Many times we've implemented the back off so that we're being able to handle staying within those rate limits without having to bother our customers. So,
Yeah.
but as I said, there's many others of these, and if you're interested, please follow along in our docs.
Right. Right. So it brings us to the end of the show here. There have been no questions posted up, but if you do have any questions about any of the products that we have been adding support to or are developing out support to, if you have any questions about how we work, this is time to ask. In the meantime, few final housekeeping things. I will be sending an email linking to our docs, as well as over to the recordings to this webinar. Now, if you are interested in seeing some of these new connectors in action, if you are a customer, just reach out via the Slack channel or to your representative here at Synqly. If you are not a customer, real simple, synqly.com/demo, head over there. You can request time with us right now. The calendar is fully open, so and available for you to schedule time, and you will get a meeting invite immediately. So you don't have to do this email back and forth. Find the time that works best with you. We'd love to talk to you. In the meantime, no questions have popped in here, Steve. Looks like we got the technical issues served up. So for me, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Steve, any final notes, everyone?
Yeah, I appreciate everyone joining and looking forward to sharing more in future webinars.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will see you in about a month with our adaptive data mapping webinar, as well as our new coming product announcements. In the meantime, if you are interested in demo, synqly.com/demo, or just head over to synqly.com and take a look at some of our videos.